Teresa Gómez.
¿Y tu posición?
Organizadora comunitaria del Condado de Ventura, con la coalición CAPS 805. Yo trabajo para la organización Californianos para la Reforma de Pesticidas. Hoy venimos a apoyar aquí a Salinas con el grupo de CAPS 805.
¿Qué es lo que está pasando hoy?
Hoy el DPR está haciendo audiencias públicas que quiere escuchar a la comunidad acerca de este pesticida, el fumigante 1,3-D, su nombre comercial Telone. Y estamos aquí para dar nuestros comentarios acerca de este fumigante que no lo queremos más en nuestro condado porque está afectando a mucha comunidad latina indígena en nuestro condado, ya que sabemos que Oxnard es una ciudad que se promueve por sí misma, por su enorme cultivo de fresas, y es muy utilizado el 1,3-D para la preparación de la tierra del cultivo de fresas. Yo trabajé por 20 años en la agricultura. Antes de postularme como organizadora, yo fui campesina y me sigo considerando campesina porque vengo de familias que aún están en el campo trabajando en la agricultura y la fresa, y nos afectó de muchas maneras. A mí con el asma durante el tiempo de mi trabajo tenía que trabajar forzosamente con ese dolor de cabeza, mareos, vértigos que aún se me quedaron porque quedan como residuos en el cuerpo de uno. Y en mi familia pues yo tengo a un hijo que él sufre mucho de asma, irritación en la piel, y yo lo considero que es a causa de los pesticidas.
¿Y qué es lo que le piden al Departamento de Regulación?
Lo que le estamos pidiendo y exigiendo al Departamento de Regulación que siga la ciencia. OEHHA dice que el 0.04 es una ppb, es un nivel seguro para la comunidad, y es lo que queremos, exigirle que él siga la ciencia, que no se vaya por lo que la compañía...
Que se erradique completamente el uso. ¿Qué quieren?
Que lo retiren totalmente este fumigante que está ocasionando mucho a enfermedades de salud a nuestra comunidad.
Yaneli Martínez, organizadora comunitaria con Agricultura Segura, Escuela Segura. Eso básicamente es parte de 4 audiencias públicas que tienen que hacer ellos por ley. Después de que nosotros llegamos a la corte, ganamos una demanda, tienen que hacer esas audiencias públicas para que la gente pueda decir si está a favor o está en contra de sus regulaciones que están proponiendo, que como te mencioné ahora, que fue el 15 de noviembre, que fue cuando salieron, no están adaptadas para protegernos a ninguno de nuestros miembros de la comunidad. Y cuando digo ninguno, es la comunidad latina indígena que existe, como mi comunidad de Greenfield, como aquí en Salinas, Watsonville, no nos están protegiendo. So, básicamente ellos están alegando, en parte de su propuesta, es de que los trabajadores del campo trabajan de 8 de la mañana a 4 de la tarde. Y tú y todos aquí sabemos que eso no es cierto. Tenemos aquí jóvenes que tienen a sus papás trabajando en el campo y no es el horario que trabaja un campesino. Así es que necesitan que tener las protecciones adecuadas al horario del trabajador del campo. También que es una póliza racista, porque como te mencioné, solamente están afectando y perjudicando a comunidades latinas indígenas, comunidades de gente de color. No está pasando en ciudades como Carmel, Santa Cruz, Los Ángeles, solamente está pasando en comunidades de agricultura, y qué triste.
¿Cuál es el pliego de peticiones de usted?
Estamos pidiendo que básicamente sus regulaciones sean adaptadas al sistema de OEHHA, que son los verdaderos científicos de la oficina del CALEPA, que son los verdaderos expertos, no los científicos que tiene el DPR, que son científicos por parte de la compañía Dow, que es obviamente la compañía que está produciendo este químico.
¿Qué decir? ¿Que retiren químicos? ¿Qué es lo que están pidiendo?
Exigimos que hagan caso y que adopten las regulaciones de OEHHA, los estándares, que ahorita si me dices el número no lo tengo correctamente, pero es una de las propuestas, y que básicamente no podemos pedir que lo eliminen porque sabemos que no existe. Ya lo logramos con otro pesticida, pero tomó años. Básicamente que escuchen a la comunidad hoy, que a la comunidad que va a dar su testimonio, donde están diciendo dejen de envenenarnos 14 veces más que cualquier otro californiano, porque esos son los números que están saliendo de cada monitor de aire de los 6 que existen en el estado de California.
Wow.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ann Schaffner, and I work in DPR's Worker Health and Safety branch on human health mitigation. I want to use this time to provide some background information on the pesticide 1,3-dichloropropanene, also known as 1,3-D. and talk about the development of the proposed regulation with the Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment, or OEHHA, as well as give an overview of the proposed regulation itself. Our mission at DPR is to protect people and the environment by fostering sustainable pest management and regulating pesticides. The proposed regulation protects workers by reducing potential exposure to pesticides, specifically 1,3-D. 1,3-D is a highly regulated pesticide called a restricted material. The higher level of restrictions on the use of restricted materials is because of their potential to introduce risks to people and the environment. The sale and use of 1,3-D is currently subject to multiple regulations, conditions, and requirements. And DPR continues to evaluate potential exposure risks and implements additional restrictions when they are needed to reduce risk. 1,3-D is a fumigant that is used to control pests that are found in the soil. It is typically used to treat nematodes, a type of worm that causes damage to crops, and is often used on tree and vine crops and on field crops. As I mentioned previously, 1,3-D is a restricted material. This means that a certified applicator must conduct or supervise the application. The certified applicator must also get a permit from the county agricultural commissioner before applying 1,3-D to the soil. In 1996, a township cap program was implemented in order to address cancer risks by limiting the amount of 1,3-D that was used. A lawsuit successfully challenged the township cap program. A court order required DPR to adopt regulations to address cancer risks to bystanders from potential 1,3-D exposures. In 2022, DPR proposed regulations to address acute or near-term and chronic or long-term risks to residential bystanders or persons living near areas where 1,3-D applications occur. The regulation, which became effective January 1st, 2024, includes establishing distances from occupied structures where 1,3-D cannot be applied, limiting the number of acres treated with 1,3-D, adding requirements for totally impermeable film or TIF tarps, adding alternative application methods that comparatively reduce potential exposures, and introducing annual reporting requirements to evaluate 1,3-D air concentrations. In 2023, the Alameda County Superior Court ordered DPR to adopt regulations that address cancer risks to occupational bystanders, or persons that may be working near an area where a 1,3-D application is occurring. DPR developed the proposed regulations through a joint and mutual process with OEHHA in order to address cancer risks specific to occupational bystanders. The proposed regulations build on the recently adopted 1,3-D regulations that protect residents and workers and the public from potential 1,3-D exposure. DPR is following the process outlined in Food and Agricultural Code sections 12.980 and 12.981 for this rulemaking. This process states that DPR and OEHHA share joint and mutual responsibility for developing regulations relating to pesticides and worker safety. And regulations that relate to worker health effects must be based on OEHHA's recommendations. In 2023, OEHHA released its health-based recommendations to mitigate cancer risk to occupational bystanders from exposure to 1,3-D. OEHHA's recommendations take into account factors such as typical working hours, worker breathing rates, days working near a treated field, and application frequencies and OEHHA recommended a target air concentration for 1,3-D of 0.21 parts per billion, or ppb, over a working lifetime for persons working in close proximity to fields where 1,3-D is applied. The target also takes into account potential exposure to workers who are in the general vicinity of fields where 1,3-D applications occur. The proposed regulations will adopt this target air concentration. The proposed occupational bystander regulation, which is based on OEHHA's health-based recommendations, will work in concert with DPR's residential bystander regulation by implementing additional measures to reduce potential occupational bystander exposure to 1,3-D and mitigate the potential 40-year working lifetime cancer risk to occupational bystanders. The additional measures in the proposed regulation include buffer zones around treated fields. For most of the application methods, a 100-foot buffer zone around a treated field is required. The buffer zone must remain in place for 48 hours after the application has been completed. Based on OEHHA's recommendations, these requirements will prevent 1,3-D applications from exceeding the target air concentration for occupational bystanders. The deeper 24-inch injection methods and methods using tick tarps will comparably contain emissions and would not require additional restrictions for applications to most crops. However, applications to tree and grape crops using these methods would require the 100-foot buffer zone for 48 hours because these crops require a higher application rate. Most activities within the buffer zone would be prohibited. The only activities allowed in the buffer zone would be those related to fumigant handling, such as tarp cutting, transit, or local, state, or federal officials who are conducting inspections, sampling, or other official duties. As part of the proposed regulatory requirements, DPR will continuously monitor air concentrations at concentration levels at existing air monitoring stations to evaluate if 1,3-D regulation requirements are protective of both residential and occupational bystanders, and determine that they are working to reduce the potential for 1,3-D exposure. Air concentrations will be measured against the air concentration target that was developed jointly with OEHHA and will inform actions that DPR may need to take to protect the health of residential and occupational bystanders from potential exposure to 1,3-D. As an addition to the annual reporting required by the residential bystander regulation, DPR will evaluate whether estimated air concentrations within any township exceed the regulatory air concentration target. DPR proposes to start the evaluation period in 2027 and then continue annually after. If air concentrations exceed the regulatory target as a 5-year average, DPR will take additional steps to reduce 1,3-D exposures. DPR will first identify factors causing the exceedance, such as atypical cropping patterns in a township or 1,3-D fumigation methods, or application rates that differ significantly from those of previous years. Then DPR will determine if those factors are likely to persist and continue causing exceedances, and then determine if additional mitigation is needed. And if so, DPR will work with the County Ag Commissioners and OEHHA to develop interim mitigation measures, which would allow DPR to more quickly address any exceedances. If the interim mitigation measures are implemented, they would remain in effect for 3 years, while DPR conducts a rulemaking process that would make those measures permanent. During the 3-year period, DPR will also continue to evaluate incoming data for each year as part of the annual report. If new data indicate that 1,3-D air concentrations will not continue to exceed the regulatory target as a 5-year average, DPR will stop the rulemaking process and allow interim mitigation measures to expire. The comment period for the regulation began on November 15, 2024, and will end on January 24, 2025. DPR and OEHHA will jointly review and respond to all comments received, and will consider revisions to the proposed regulation based on those comments received. and then the regulation will become effective January 1st, 2026.
This hearing will officially come to order. Good evening once again. My name is Jajinder Sahoda. I am the branch chief in the Worker Health and Safety branch of the Department of Pesticide Regulation, also referred to as DPR, and I will be the hearing officer today. I would also like to introduce DPR's Director, Julie Henderson, and Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessments Acting Director and Chief Deputy Director, Dave Edwards. I would like to thank them for being here to listen to the public comments shared today on the proposed regulation. To start off, I want to emphasize that DPR welcomes participation from all members of the public. If you know anyone who was not able to attend today, please remind them that, should they wish to comment, DPR is happy to accept those comments. Instructions for submitting written comments are on the slide and can also be found in the Notice of Proposed Action for Health Risk Mitigation for 1,3-dichloroprothene, which was published on November 15, 2024, at cdpr.ca.gov or through DPR's online public comment portal called Smart Comment. Let's start off with some general housekeeping announcements for this evening.
Hi, my name is Tim Nafziger. That's TIMNAFZIGER. I live in Ventura County, which is one of the areas impacted by this regulation, and this 1,3-D impacts farm workers in my community. So I'm here to ask for tighter regulation and lower thresholds. And I'd like to particularly highlight that this regulation assumes that workdays begin at 8 a.m. I have this information here from the UC Merced Farm Worker Health Study that indicates that 92% of farm workers begin their workdays at 7 a.m. in the morning or earlier. And I'd like to submit this into the public record.
Alondra Mendoza, I'm Indigenous Newsavi from the Mixtec Nation. I am a community advocate with the Mixteco Indiana Community Organizing Project. As a health advocate, I have witnessed firsthand the significant health challenges faced by many members of our Indigenous and farm worker communities. Our communities are exposed to harmful pesticides in their workplaces, putting them at a greater risk for a range of health issues. The long-term effects of pesticide exposure not only impact their physical well-being, but also create barriers to achieving overall health and safety. With the consent of a community member, I would like to share Miguel's story. He works in Ventura County. Miguel has said, I got exposed to the pesticide. I was a pesticide sprayer at a raspberry field, and I got exposed. My daughter died because my blood was exposed and contaminated. There are many times that not even the pesticide applicators know what type of pesticides we are spraying. What we farm workers are seeing daily is that the farmers are even using helicopters to keep on spraying pesticides in avocado fields and lemon fields. They spray even if nearby there are some farm workers working on other farms. They spray without giving us a notification. It is crucial that we address these concerns and work towards better protections for our vulnerable workers. I urge you to implement stronger regulations on pesticide use. Thank you.
TV Omar.
Muy buenas tardes, yo me llamo Artemio Mar Pérez. Vengo de la ciudad de Oxnard, California. Trabajo en el campo. Tiene más de 20 años que trabajo en el campo. Y tiene más o menos como 2 años. Me presenté a trabajar. Cuando yo me presenté no sentía nada y de repente me mareé, yo pensé que era la presión. Y pues, no fue la presión, ahí me atacó la neumonía. Y pues el supervisor no me tomó en cuenta, me tuve que ir solo al hospital. Estuve 12 días en el hospital y cuando ya reaccioné o desperté, Fue la trabajadora social y me dijo que eran por las químicas que echan en el terreno, el veneno. Me sacaron mucha pus del pulmón izquierdo y pues si es por eso, por el veneno que echan ahí, pues le pido a todos que voten por eso para que quiten ese veneno, porque mucha gente se está enfermando de cáncer, sus bebés que llevan, todo tipo de enfermedades. Y que tomen en cuenta las palabras de uno. Los patrones solo quieren ganar y cuando uno cae en el hospital o se enferma uno, se olvidan, ni las gracias dan. Yo pago el medical y...
Buenas tardes a todos, Eulalia Mendoza, EULALIA. Estoy aquí, soy organizadora comunitaria con la organización Proyecto Mixteco Indígena en coalición con CAS 805. Estamos aquí para pedir una regulación del pesticida. Siempre dicen que no daña, pero sí daña. Ahorita mismo tengo una amiga que está en el hospital de Los Ángeles sufriendo por su vida. Estuvo expuesta, trabajó durante 22 años en los campos de fresa. Sabemos que el 1,3-D es un químico que se aplica lo que es en las almendras, en el valle y en las fresas en la costa. Como campesinos estamos expuestos todo el tiempo. Yo misma estuve expuesta al pesticida durante 22 años cuando fui campesina. Ahorita ya no trabajo en el campo, más sin embargo las secuelas quedaron conmigo, pero me duele ver que un pesticida que fue retirado en otros países sigue siendo aplicado a lo que es en Estados Unidos. Sigan la ciencia y hagan una regulación, piensen en la comunidad que está allá afuera recolectando las frutas y las verduras. Cada uno de nosotros que estamos aquí desayunamos un omelette o yo qué sé, y hay que pensar en las manos de quien se recolectó la fruta y verdura que llegaron a nuestras mesas. Estamos aquí para pedir una regulación al 1,3-D.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Victor Torres. I am from Greenfield, California, and I am here on behalf of Future Leaders of Change as a co-founder, and more importantly, as a member of my community, which for many years, like many other communities in our Central Valleys, in our Central Coast, have been ignored and have been allowed to suffer under the watch of the Department of Pesticide Regulation, or as it's called on paper. As we are here today to discuss 1,3D and its regulation or lack thereof, I'd like to just point out a new fact to everybody here in this room that 1,3D is now banned in 40 countries. Yet, here in California, 1,3D continues to be used. In fact, it is the third most used pesticide here in California. This cannot be allowed to continue, and this cannot be allowed to continue under your watch, DPR. Do your job. I should not have to continue repeating this. It's really sickening how we have to continue coming up here, pouring our stories, pouring our hearts, all our suffering, yet nothing is done. All we ask for is adequate regulation. I have already spoken before, not so long ago, at an online webinar, just for this public comment as well, and I would like to leave the opportunity for everyone else in this room. But for me, more than anything, is to do your job with 1,3D. This cannot be allowed to continue. Our communities continue to suffer, and your regulations continue to be 14 times under that of OEHHA's. Our communities are not worth 14 times less than Monterey and other communities which are predominantly white, while our communities of majority Latino, mixed ethnicities continue to suffer under your watch.
Good evening, everyone. Yaneli Martinez. I have spoken several times on behalf of DPR, but today I'm giving my minutes to Dr. Velasco, a Greenfield native like myself.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. My name is Antonio Velasco. I grew up in Greenfield, it's all of that. I went to medical school, came back, did my residency here in Natividad Medical Center. In 1980, we started treating pesticide poisonings, mass poisonings, severe mass poisonings with organophosphates. And for the next 5 years, we struggled to get the county to pass a posting regulation. What you see in the fields now, that skull and crossbones is a result of that work that we did. And we made a lot of resistance to it. Similar to what we're meeting right now. There's no question that 1,3D is a carcinogen. There's no question about its danger. We all know that. 40 countries know that and have taken steps to remedy it. So My question to you is, if the California Office of Environmental Health and Hazard Assessment Office determines a certain level of safe, why is it that you're determining another level, and how do you come to it? That is my question. It's not an issue of whether it's not safe. It's not safe. It's not an issue of whether it causes cancer or not. It does. The issue here is, why do you continue using it? Thank you.
Teresa Gómez.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Teresa Gómez, Teresa Gómez, G-O-M-E-Z. Soy organizadora comunitaria con un grupo llamado CAPS 805 en coalición con MICO y líderes campesinas, Greenpeace y Fibres Vulnerable Network. Antes de postularme como organizadora comunitaria, fui campesina por 20 años trabajando en la agricultura y en el campo de fresas. Sabemos que en Ventura se utiliza enormemente en las fresas pesticidas, el 1,3-D. Los reguladores de pesticidas colocan las ganancias de las industrias por encima de la salud de la comunidad latina e indígena. Esto es racismo ambiental. El 1,3-D está prohibido en 40 países y en California es el tercer pesticida más utilizado y peligroso. Esto es inaceptable. Merecemos una regulación que siga la ciencia.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es María, M-A-R-I-A. Soy miembro de CAP 805. El 1.3 dicloropropeno es el pesticida más utilizado en California. Más de 10 millones de libras por año. Es un fumigante que causa cáncer y también es un contaminante tóxico, y su aplicación es tan peligrosa para nosotros que no es posible que aquí cuiden más a los animales que a los seres humanos que repartimos los alimentos a las casas. También no nomás nosotros estamos arriesgados, sino también nuestros niños, porque cuando llegamos de trabajar, los niños corren a abrazarnos y a darnos un abrazo con gusto y los contaminamos, no sabiendo que llevamos el cáncer para nuestras casas, para nuestros amigos, para nuestros vecinos y toda nuestra familia. Así que por favor les pedimos que están en sus manos, que nos puedan ayudar para que quiten ese contaminante. Gracias.
Mi nombre es María López y yo vengo representando a líderes campesinas y a todos los campesinos que trabajan en el campo como campesinas también. Y les voy a decir que el pesticida es muy peligroso porque de hecho arriesgamos trabajando, embarazadas, nos paran hasta los 5 meses de embarazo, el riesgo de estar respirando el aire, estar impuestas al polvo de la uva, del brócoli, de todo, porque a veces hay mucho polvo dentro de los chiles y todo eso lo respiramos. Y yo les pido que por favor ya no estén aplicando ese pesticida, el 1,2,3-D, porque pues sí, es demasiado para nosotros como humanos, porque nos sentimos cansados, nos sentimos con los ojos muy cansados, con sueño, a través de ese pesticida. Hay veces que no ganamos respirar y es demasiado. Llegamos cansados, nos duelen nuestros pies, nos duelen los huesos. Llegamos como si hubiéramos corrido tanto y la verdad no corremos ni caminamos. Y todo eso es lo que nos está haciendo los pesticidas que están echando tanto en las plantas, en los vegetales. Gracias.
My name is Carrie Ace. It's K-A-R-I. AIST. This is a recent article about 1,3-D use in California and DPR's failure to protect Latino and indigenous farm worker communities. I submitted it into public record. I would like to address the fact that clearly what you're proposing is a policy that disproportionately harms Latino and indigenous farm worker communities and perpetuates environmental racism. That is an absolutely unacceptable situation. Shame on DPR for continuing a racist policy and planning to extend it or to change it and still keep it racist. This is ridiculous. We know that if the people who were making the policies were exposed to these chemicals, they would not want to wait 3 years while data is analyzed before seeing a change might be established. Every time you talk about data, you're talking about statistics that we know are human beings being harmed. Whole lifetimes are being harmed. And it's not happening to white families as much as it's happening to farm worker families of color, indigenous families. How could you be doing this? How could you allow this? We just cannot continue to do this, and I'm sure that lawsuits will follow if you don't shape up and stop with the environmental racism. Thank you.
Buenas tardes, DPR. Mi nombre es Juan Carlos Díaz, abogado comunitario con el proyecto Mixteco Indígena, organización comunitaria en colaboración con la coalición CAPS 805. Vengo desde Oxnard, California, y esta no es la primera vez que he estado dando mi comentario ante ustedes. Ya hemos estado en varias audiencias reglamentarias junto con nuestros líderes comunitarios que lamentablemente hoy no pudieron estar presentes porque perderían todo un día de trabajo, ya que todos viven en Oxnard, California. Con esto dicho, con el consentimiento de una líder comunitaria, hoy quiero compartir su comentario público. Hola, mi nombre es Ana Mendoza, líder comunitaria con MICO. Como esposa de un trabajador agrícola, madre de un niño y en nombre de toda la comunidad trabajadora del campo, me preocupa que sigan usando el pesticida 1,3-D, aún sabiendo que es un pesticida altamente tóxico para la salud de las personas. De la manera más atenta, ya no estamos pidiendo, exigimos un alto al uso de los pesticidas que nos están matando poco a poco a todos de cáncer y de las enfermedades de piel y que no solamente afecta a los humanos, sino que también afecta a los animales, el aire contaminado y la mala calidad de agua que tomamos. Piensen que estamos en lo que estamos pidiendo y consideren descontinuar este pesticida por el bien de nuestra salud. Con esto dicho, me despido. Muchas gracias y buenas noches.
Hello, my name is Ana Rosa Rizzo Centino, that's ANA-ROSA, RIZO-CENTINO. I'm the California Senior Organizer for Greenpeace USA, and we stand here united with MICO, Mixteco Indígena Community Organizing Project, Fierceful Nobility Network, CAPS 805, and countless organizations who are here to say that our farm workers are not disposable populations. Our farm workers deserve, at the very least, safety. That's the very least they deserve. Safety from cancer, from miscarriages, from birth defects. They are the ones who feed you, who feed me, who feed all of us. Farm workers should not have to come here time after time with their pain of either themselves or people they know who have endured cancer or died from cancer. It is not fair that you put us in this situation. You should want to provide sanctuary from harm to the people who feed you. And so, if DPR is not going to ban cancer-causing 1,3-D as 40 other countries have already done, then regulations must align with the most health protective science and apply the same standards to everyone. Before I was with Greenpeace USA, I was staff with the United Farm Workers and a volunteer since 1998. So I have come to so many of these hearings and it's always the same. We have to beg for the validity, for the dignity of our lives. That is not okay. I'm going to hand over this DPR study of a 37.5 parts per billion 1,3-D sample in Shafter on October 2020. The application was 3 miles from the air monitoring site. I submitted it to public record.
Thank you. Laura Placencia.
Laura, L-A-U-R-A, Placencia, P-L-A-S-C-E-N-C-I-A. Hello, good evening. I am here from Stanislaus County with Valley Improvement Projects, and I am grateful for the opportunity to speak and provide a comment, but I would like to learn how exactly our comments are actually influencing your decision-making. Community members and environmental and health community organizations have been advocating against your use of cancer-causing pesticides like this one that is banned in 40 other countries, yet you guys continue to use it for over 20 years and beyond, communities ask. My recommendation is to follow the science and begin the ban and true phase-out via directing investment towards alternative practices to protect all people instead of wasting resources on all of these different regulations for different communities that don't make sense, along with all of the air monitoring that is required for this pesticide that is poisoning our air quality with toxic chemicals meant to kill. Telone, or 1,3-D, was banned in 1990 after being found in the air for 30 parts per billion in Merced County. It was banned for 5 years and brought back at the Department of Pesticides in 2016. DPR regrets from a more protecting standard at 0.16 parts per billion to a weaker standard of 0.56 under new recommendations guided by Dow, the chemical producer of Telone. What allows DPR to dismiss its sister agency, OEHHA, Environmental Health Hazard Assessment Standards of 0.04, but follows Dow's recommendations of 0.56, which are 14 times less protective? To me, that sounds like a conflict of interest. In 2018, the air monitor in Shafter High School measured Telone at 50.5 parts per billion, the highest rate it's ever been measured in the state. To me, pesticides contribute to greenhouse gases, which is contributing to worsening climate change. Clearly, you guys aren't looking at all of the science, and you guys are selective about what you are following, allowing me to believe that there's a conflict of interest with this chemical company Dow. Thank you.
Yuridiana Alvarado.
Yo fui trabajadora del campo por más de 10 años. Mi mamá aún es trabajadora agrícola. Recientemente mi mamá ha sido diagnosticada con cáncer de la piel debido a tanto pesticida que ha sido expuesta, ya que es trabajadora en los campos de fresa. El día de hoy estoy aquí como organizadora comunitaria de líderes campesinas en colaboración con CAPS 805 para pedirle y para poder pedirle al DPR, que todos sabemos que el pesticida 1,3-D está prohibido en 34 países debido a sus peligros. ¿Por qué en Estados Unidos sigue siendo legal? Hoy quiero pedirle al DPR, en representación de toda la comunidad agrícola, prohibir el 1,3-D. Y si esa no es una opción, entonces que las regulaciones deben alinearse con la ciencia más protectora de la salud y aplicar los mismos estándares para todos. Estamos pidiendo regular el fumigante cancerígeno 1,3-D a nivel de riesgo de cáncer establecido por la Oficina de Evaluación de Riesgos para la salud ambiental y para todas las personas, incluyendo las comunidades agrícolas. Todos debemos ser protegidos con los mismos estándares de exposiciones, incluyendo lo que viene siendo la comunidad campesina, las comunidades donde los niños están cerca de los files. En el condado de Ventura tenemos muchas escuelas que los files están atrás y el aire, cuando está haciendo vientos en estos tiempos, están sprayando y todo ese spray llega a ellos. Entonces eso es lo que estamos viendo el día de hoy. Gracias.
Woody Rehannick, W-O-O-D-Y-R-E-H-A-N-E-K, proud member of Safe Ag, Safe Schools Watsonville, where I was the teacher for 18 years in special education. In our school district, there are 50 conventional chemical farms within a quarter mile of district schools. There are also 16 organic farms. In those 50, if they're growing berries, they're using fumigants. They're using 1,3-D. Now, I must ask you, why would we be putting a carcinogen and a toxic air contaminant within a quarter mile of our schools, something that's banned in 34 countries? I just can't wrap my head around that. And neither can you. If it must be used, and mark my words, it will be banned someday, 1,3-D, the only reasonable level would be 0.04 parts per billion. And just to put it in perspective, a part per billion liquid is 1 drop of water in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. So this would be 400ths of that 1 drop if we were thinking in liquid terms. We can do better for our children, and having a different standard for them is unconscionable. Thank you very much.
Mi nombre es Carmen Sánchez. Solamente estoy aquí para hablar un poco sobre cómo fue mi tiempo cuando estuve trabajando en el campo. Yo soy una de, vengo representando a líderes campesinas y yo soy una de las personas que trabajó en la fresa por 8 años, estando embarazada, sin saber que corría riesgo a mi bebé estando embarazada trabajando en el campo, sin contar los otros trabajos que hice, que fue en el brócoli, en el apio, en el cilantro, y en mis manos me salían muchas ronchas todo el tiempo que yo estaba trabajando en la fresa. Entonces yo pensaba que era normal, pero no, porque es por las pesticidas que contiene la planta de la fresa, y también pues en el cilantro también. Y hay personas que trabajan en el cilantro que hasta les quedó marcas en las manos. Gracias a Dios a mí no me pasó eso, porque fue muy poco tiempo en el cilantro, pero en la fresa sí. A mí me daba dolores durante mi embarazo y pensaba que era normal, pero cuando fui yo al doctor, me dijo que estaba en riesgo de perder a mi bebé en el último año que yo trabajé estando embarazada. Muchas gracias. Tomemos seguridad sobre los pesticidas por la salud de los trabajadores agrícolas.
Ana Barrera.
Farm workers and their children demonstrate the effects of pesticide poisoning before anyone else. Cesar Chavez, 1988-89. Presente. There is no acceptable level of exposure to any chemical that causes cancer. Risk associated with any level of exposure, and any level of exposure is too much. Cesar Chavez. Presente. I am a teacher in California in public schools for almost 28 years. I'm also a member of SAS, Safe Ag, Safe Schools, as well as a member of the Salinas Valley Federation of Teachers. The Department of Pesticide Reform does not have a system in place to safeguard any farm working community from the elevated levels of Telone 1,3-D in the Salinas Valley. First of all air monitoring systems need to be in place among every local school. This will guarantee emergency mitigating procedures if students and staffs are exposed to drift that would harm them from any cancer-harming levels of pesticide exposure. This data is vital for this agency to effectively do its job of protecting our farm-working communities. Secondly, we have a need to access exact location, the use of any pesticide, and this agency is only implementing 100 feet buffer zones, which are entirely inadequate for protections against fumigants that can drift for miles at harmful levels. We were able to get 1/4 mile buffer zones. At the end of the day, these racist policies that target predominantly Mexican-American communities like Salinas must be stopped.
Thank you. Estrada, followed by Pedro Enriquez.
Mi nombre es Jesús Estrada, J-E-S-U-S. Estoy aquí para hacer un comentario. Mi familia trabaja en el campo. Yo trabajé muchos años también. Y resulta mi esposa encontraron que es cáncer. También tengo mucha familia que se murieron de cáncer. Entonces para mí este tipo de veneno mata lentamente a los trabajadores del campo y las trabajadoras del campo. Eso sí mata lentamente, porque no se manifiesta al instante o poco tiempo después que trabaja en el campo. Al contrario, a los insectos, me imagino que eso sí se mueren instantáneamente cuando aplican pesticidas. ¿Sí? Entonces yo estoy aquí para pedir, sería mucho mejor eliminar completamente este tipo de veneno, porque si otros países ya lo prohibieron, ¿por qué este país no? Buscar otra alternativa, ¿sí? Para que ayuden a los rancheros, a los agricultores, cómo matar insectos, pero buscar otro tipo de alternativo para que ellos puedan usar eso. Allá en mi pueblo no usamos tipo de químico para las cosechas. Allá crecen con bonos orgánicos, ¿sí? Allá no se usa, por esa razón estoy aquí para hacer comentario, porque sí tengo familia que tiene cáncer, tengo familia que se murieron de cáncer. Muchísimas gracias.
My name is Pedro Enriquez. It's Pedroenriquez. I'm a community solutions advocate with Community Water Center. CWC is a community-based organization building a movement of community-driven solutions. So we believe clean water is a human right and not a privilege. So we also understand the profound impacts pesticide regulations have on drinking water. For example, 1,2,3-TCP or trichlopropane, a legacy carcinogenic chemical formerly found in pesticides, leached into groundwater and will likely persist in drinking water for decades. So even though TCP has been regulated, we at CWC have identified hotspots where TCP impacts public health. For families in these communities, TCP contamination renders tap water unsafe, forcing them to rely on bottled water or costly treatment systems. It's deeply troubling to inform families that their well water contains TCP. The thought that they may have been unknowingly exposed to carcinogens for years is devastating. To prevent any such unforeseeable consequences and known immediate dangers, DPR must act proactively to safeguard public health. Allowing pesticides like 1,3-D to exacerbate existing burdens is unacceptable. The department's proposed regulation of 1,3-D at a cancer risk levels of 0.56 parts per billion falls short of adequately protecting communities. We urge the department to adopt a more protective standard of 0.04 parts per billion established by OEHHA. This standard will better protect farm-working communities and their families now and for generations to come. Take sensible action now before it's too late.
Esmeralda.
Hello there, my name is Esmeralda Aguirre, ESMERALDAAGUIRRE. Have you ever wondered about the numerous problems smokers have? Have you ever stopped and wondered about the many life-threatening risks they have working with you? Well, there are sadly too many, including the following illnesses: acute herbicide and insecticide toxicity, including nausea, headaches, shortness of breath, and seizures, as well as the longer-term risks, chronic illness, and neurological disorders which lead up to death. In an article posted in 2021 titled Latina Farm Workers Speak Out About the Hazards in Life in California Field States, Aurelia Garcia Cervantes, former farm worker and current board president of Líderes Campesinas, originally joined a group after losing her husband, also a farm worker, to conditions doctors linked to pesticide exposure. This evidence sadly illuminates the vicious dangers of working in the field and death at a young age. Therefore, the environment is not conducive to the health or future well-being of either the worker's physical or mental health. I noticed that there are far too many solutions. There are many simple ones as well. Maybe it's just the lack of education that we have on the face, or the lack of support they get. But more things should have been done by now. Sadly, there hasn't. We should be able to support them in any way we are able to. Their job is just as important as other important jobs. They should be treated as fairly as other important jobs, so they face way too much shame for what they do, although they are the ones that keep us fed. That being said, we should continue bringing awareness of the many crucial illnesses which are acute herbicide and insecticide poisoning, including nausea, headaches, shortness of breath, and seizures, as well as the longer-term risks, chronic illness, cancer, and neurological disorders, which lead them to an excruciating death.
Thank you. Sofía, followed by Erica Alfaro.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Sofía Alvarado y yo vivo aquí en Salinas hace ya 25 años y soy trabajadora del campo, trabajo en la fresa. Y toda mi vida, pues, que llegué aquí a los 16 años, me la he pasado trabajando en la empresa. Y sí es cierto de eso, de lo que dicen de pesticida muy fuerte, la verdad, el 1,3-D. Desgraciadamente, a nosotros como nos exponen mucho los patrones, la verdad. Tengo videos, tengo fotografías como ellos, no les importa que nos pasemos a la mitad del bloque caminando, oliendo pesticidas, nuestro break, nuestro lonche, oliendo pesticidas y así comiendo el viento, todo nos perjudica la vista, la garganta, los pulmones, nos da vómito, nos da diarrea, nos hace que nos vayamos a la casa. A ellos no les importa, la mera verdad. Y sí, yo estoy en contra de eso, porque de hecho hoy, el año pasado, a mi esposo le dio vómito, le dio diarrea, náuseas, como ganas, como si fuera gripa, pero no es gripa. Y tengo la verdad que me da mucho coraje que a los patrones no les importa eso. Ellos, tú perdiste tu día y ya, me siento mal y me voy. Y la mera verdad no es justo que ellos hagan eso con nosotros. Ojalá y se apruebe esta ley. Por todos, nosotros somos el sustento de todo California, de todo Estados Unidos. Y yo pido que nos ayuden, por favor. Gracias.
Erica Alfaro.
1,3-D or Telone is now banned in 40 countries, yet it is the third most used pesticide in California. As a Department for Pesticide Regulation, it is in your mission statement that to protect human health and the environment. I repeat, to protect human health and the environment. As a pediatric public health nurse, I've seen firsthand the stories that these people tell. To wish that upon a family to have a child with cancer, to have to educate a pregnant woman to not hug her husband after arriving home, to have to tell them to wash things separately. And I get it, it's just another thing one has to do. But if this has the ability to be banned, why not? If your mission statement is to protect human health and the environment, there is another option. Yes, we can ban this, and if not, 0.4 parts per billion. Thank you.
Angel Garcia with California Pesticide Reform. I come from Tulare County, and honored to be here with people. Want to quickly share that this draft regulation is scientifically unsound and inconsistent. And it appears that DPR is standing with doubt on this one. Rather than join the, as previously mentioned, the 40 countries in banning this dangerous chemical. Now, if DPR isn't going to ban 1,3-D, DPR must at least, and at minimum, implement a regulation that provides a uniform protection to all at the exposure threshold recommended by our top state science cancer experts at the Office of the Environmental Health Hazard Assessment, which is 0.04 parts per billion per day. And also, proposing at least two different standards of protection is confusing. If you work near a field applied with 1,3-D, you can be exposed to 1,3-D at no more than OEHHA's 0.04 parts per billion. But my three boys can be exposed to 1,3-D up to 0.56 parts per billion per day, a level that is 14 times higher than what the state official cancer experts say should be. That is unacceptable. Be on the right side of history.
Good evening, Josh Ezekiel, Josh, Ezekiel, and I'm with SAS. When I was 30, I didn't think things like the brutal racist attack on Rodney King still happened. But my disbelief didn't protect Rodney King. Maybe you don't think the application of 1,3D policy is racist because you lack a racist motive. I have an algebra problem for you. If you are algebraic x, and x plus 2 equals 5, it doesn't matter how you feel about 3. You are 3, period. 3 plus 2 equals 5, like it or not. If agriculture plus you equals racist exposure of a mostly Latino population to 14 times as much carcinogen as your own scientists have shown to be acceptable, then it doesn't matter if you think you're a racist. You're doing a racist thing. A thing that causes cancers and birth defects and learning disabilities and asthma. Don't want to be a racist? Good. Don't do racist things. Don't be the racist variable. Do the math. Connect the dots. Follow the science. Protect the people of California. This is your charge, your mission statement. This is your job. This is your duty. Protect the people of agricultural communities. Be the hero, not the villain. Cancer, we can see. It comes to us with 1,3D.
My name is Mary Flodin, F-L-O-D-I-N. I'm a retired teacher and a founding member of Safe Ag, Safe Schools. Gotta say, I'm thrilled to hear about buffer zones. Thank you. But it's not enough. We need to keep pushing that distance some more. I taught for 20 years at an SD Elementary in Watsonville. At that time, the school was surrounded by pesticide-intensive strawberry fields. DPR assumes that farm workers work 8-hour days. You've heard this already this evening. From 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., 5 days a week, and ignores additional exposures before and after work hours and during childhood. Schools such as Amesti are intentionally situated in close proximity to agricultural fields. Neighborhood school buildings and grounds are heavily used 7 days a week from early morning through late evening, not only by teachers and students, but by the whole community. That means many more people than the workers on the fields are being exposed. At Amesti, fumigations with 13 acutely toxic gases, including Telone, regularly drifted into our classrooms and into our playing fields. A number of my colleagues and students experienced abnormally high incidence of cancer, as well as respiratory disease. I myself and several of my fellow teachers contracted asthma. DPR's regulations must align with the most health protective science and must apply the same standards to everyone. Thank you.
Christy Toronto, followed by Renee Pino, followed by Ian Campbell.
My name is Christy Toronto, C-H-R-E-S-T-I-E, Toronto, T-U-R-A-N-O. I'm a mother, a concerned community member, and also a member of SAS. On January 1st, 1989, 1,3-D, dichloroprofene was found to cause cancer. And then the DPR changed their tune. In 2021, through 2022, OEHHA found safe levels to be 0.04. Current regulations allow for 0.56 points per billion, 14 times higher than is the safe level. The DPR's own scientists in OEHHA, these are the scientists that DPR, our agency that is here to protect us, has found safe. Research is expensive, costing millions, if not billions, to develop this blatant disregard of OEHHA's finding is a flagrant waste of taxpayers' money. Daniel Fiducia, a cancer survivor, one-time ombudsman for the Candlelighters Childhood Cancer Foundation, and author of the Disabilities Act for the state of California, would often say he received the Hiroshima level of chemo as in the 50s when survival was 5 to 10%. The powerful chemicals that saved him also severely crippled him. Thank you.
Renee Pinel, R-E-N-E-E-P-I-N-E-L. Here on behalf of the Western Plants Health Association, our thanks to DPR for this opportunity to comment. While I'm sure we are all committed to safeguarding workers and communities, I just want to express a little balance on behalf of the agriculture community. Farmers, registrants, and the state are spending millions of dollars annually on the development of alternative products. However, the reality is safe, efficacious alternatives are not yet available. Soil-borne diseases are endemic to California soils, and while we look forward to the development of new products, eliminating or making products impractical to use without new products in the marketplace will result in mass crop failures, which will impact everyone who purchases groceries. California already has the most conservative regulatory safeguards in the country for the use of 1,3-D to protect workers in the community. This is demonstrated through the results of the monitoring systems like DPR's air monitoring network and your groundwater monitoring programs. DPR also uses to implement safeguards through numerous programs, including VOC regulations, and starting next month, the notification spray days. As long as we achieve safeguards intended by these precautionary regulations, we ask that DPR continue to work with agriculture on including flexible application systems and techniques to make sure that these products are available.
Thank you. I want to ask everyone to be please courteous to the commenters, followed by Ian Campbell.
I live in Ventura County, and I've heard far too many stories of the harmful effects of pesticides such as 1,3-D by field workers in our community. At the very least, we need to regulate the cancer-causing fumigant 1,3-D to the cancer risk level of 0.04 parts per billion established by OEHHA for all people. All California residents should be protected to the same exposure thresholds and not divided into separate groups and categories that can have higher exposure levels. Field workers need to be both safe at work and at home. The exposure to toxic chemicals by farm worker communities throughout the state disproportionately impacts indigenous and immigrant communities, constituting a flagrant case of environmental racism. In your presentation, you mentioned DPR's mission statement. Our mission is to protect human health and the environment by regulating pesticide sales and use and by fostering reduced risk pest management. Sounds pretty good, right? I don't see anything there about protecting profits of chemical companies like Dow. The health of our communities, including the soil and water, are of the utmost importance. Companies like Dow come and go, but the earth and its people last forever. Treat the land with respect. Using fumigants in the soil is like overusing antibiotics in the body. It destroys the diverse ecological balance and allows for pathogenic agents to take over rapidly with great intensity. Farmers need to be transitioning off of them and start using better practices. You need to be fostering reduced risk pest management. Finally, as we quickly transition away from pesticides, we need to make sure people are at least aware where and when they are applied. I have an item to submit to the public record which shows how farm worker communities have never been notified about 1,3-D use, despite harmful levels measured.
My name is Shanti Sandosham, S-H-A-N-T-I-S-A-N-D-O-S-H-A-M. I have traveled here today along with many others from Ventura County to call for equal protection from 1,3-D for all people. I believe DPR should ban 1,3-D, as has already been done in California in the 90s, and along with the 40 other countries that have already done so. If the harmful pesticide 1,3-D is not banned, the least we can do is align with the most health protective science and apply equal protection to all people. Specifically, we need to protect the farm workers. Instead, this policy disproportionately harms farm workers by flawed assumptions that farm workers work only 8-hour days and are not exposed to pesticides before and after work hours. In fact, a study by UC Merced shows most farm workers work far more than 8 hours a day. Additionally, many farm workers live near areas where pesticides are sprayed. I will be submitting into record DPR's own study of computer modeling of high detection of 1,3-D. It indicates that some of the highest readings of 1,3-D have come from applications more than 8 miles away. It also indicates that DPR's modeling underestimates the impact of 1,3-D applications that are miles away. I submit it to public record, and in addition, I just want to say to anyone who's with DPR here, when you hear the testimonies from these farm workers, does it not impact you? Does it not make you want to ban 1,3-D? It should, because this is horrible what is happening to our farm workers, and it needs to stop now.
Followed by Diana Cubilos.
The late Dr. Paul Farmer once said, "The idea that some lives matter less than others is the root of all that is wrong with the world." How can you claim to uphold your mission of protecting human health and the environment when you continually choose to follow standards requested and suggested by Dow Chemical instead of OEHHA? When you continue to push overuse of 1,3-D knowing it's banned in 40 countries who are actually trying to protect their people? When you hold these public comment spaces year after year but continually ignore the gut-wrenching testimony of farm workers sharing their life stories of the horrifying and inhumane impact of these pesticides, specifically 1,3-D. I'm submitting an article about how Dow Chemical got just what they wanted from DPR in the loosening of the cap on 1,3-D use. So we're begging you, please, all these years of hearing testimony, finally let it sink into your conscience, please. Do the right thing for the planet, for the people, including your children. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Cesar Lara, C-E-S-A-R, Lara, L-A-R-A. I'm a member of the Monterey Bay Central Labor Council and a board member for Californians for Pesticide Reform. And I'm going to ask everybody to stand with me if you agree. The priorities of DPR are mistaken. They're a front for the mega ag industry that's pushing racist policies on our communities. 40 countries across the world have banned this chemical, and our taxpayer department is funding a department that is not standing with community. They're standing on the wrong side of history. We're asking that they, at minimum, they follow their own scientists that already are proposing a regulation of 0.04 parts instead of what they're being proposed. Our students, our community cannot stand this. Our farm worker community cannot stand this. I ask for this department to stand with community, stand on the right side of history, and ban this chemical like 40 other countries. Thank you.
My name is Olga Reina. Today I stand with the farm worker community, and I belong to a group called SAS. I came to ask you to adopt the one cancer risk limit for all Californians, 0.4 parts per billion in the air as established by the OEHHA. The state cancer experts provide equal protection for everyone, regardless of the occupation or their residence. Protect all our vulnerable communities, especially the Latinos and indigenous community populations who suffer the effects of the 1,3-D pesticide. Thank you.
Thank you. Eleanor Elliott.
This is a matter of environmental justice. It's no surprise that Dow produces this toxic pesticide. I fought their use of DDT back in the 60s until it was finally banned in 1972.
Could you please?
Sadly, banning the application of DDT did not halt its destruction. Like that chemical, 1,3-D will not just go away. The sooner 1,3-D is dealt with, the better. My great-grandchildren attend school and live in this area, in this community, and it breaks my heart and terrifies me to know that their health may be so negatively impacted by big business and their big money interests. Thank you.
Thank you.
grew up around fields. I live in the east side of Salinas, and so much so when I was growing up as a little kid, I could smell the fertilizer and I could smell a lot of the production of agriculture just around me because there's so many fields present where I live. And around my neighborhood, there's a lot of indigenous and Latino farm working communities that have to face the troubles of things like healthcare and what happens when you don't have healthcare. And so let's say someone gets sick due to these circumstances that are proven but ignored because of profit and companies that in reality use Latino and indigenous farm working communities as people that they can just abuse for work. And unfortunately, that's the story of a lot of people around here. So I'm here as a testimony that I've seen people have cancer and kids have autism and ADHD due to pesticides filling up our lungs all the time, walking to school, seeing those fields. It is a routine that we have seen and fought for all of our lives. And sometimes we say jokingly that those things are going to kill us. Me and my brother say that as a joke, but in reality, that's what these people are facing. That's what farm workers are facing, and that's what our lineage. My grandmother died of cancer, and my mother has to bear the fact that she saw her slowly deteriorate, and for a company, I don't care. For a company, I don't care. These things need to be put away, and the Parks Pavilion should be different. Thank you.
My name is Jeff Otterbein, Jeffotterbein. I live in Ventura County. I came here with 19 or 20 people in the van this morning with group CPR. When I come here, I feel, and I hear these stories and I read about this, I feel angry. And anger is a feeling that I think many people here have with frustration. And it's something that my wife says is a powerful emotion, anger, and that it can be used in a positive way. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but I saw maybe 15 people from the Department of Pesticide Regulation here, and I suppose you all have some say in what happens when you go back to work. We have eyes, we saw you all. We have a heart that beats with you all. We have stomachs that are churning because of the anger. Maybe this is a connection that we connect to you. You people that we saw out there in the desk and you here. It's a connection. We like to connect and share our anger and our frustration. And hopefully you can take that back to your work and your office and have it be heard.
Good evening, Chago, XAGO, neighborhood organizer for Building Healthy Communities here in Salinas, born and raised on the east side. All of these stories that you've been able to hear, we as residents have been able to see, witness today in our neighborhood organizing work around building that resident power. Much of their experience, much of the experience of our neighbors, many of their family members are suffering, experiencing these impacts that are disrupting their own structure, their own family structure. And it's not just one or two families, but it's a good number of families here just in the east side of Salinas alone. And once we start understanding and obviously doing some research, and we also see how early exposure to the pesticides for folks that, like myself, have gone to schools in this area in the past, have later in life showed results, have showed symptoms of cancer, and have gone up, have lost their lives. I speak for a lot of our families that they were exposed early and they are now lost. These are our families. please, listen and do what you know is right. You've been on this for 3 years, guys, right? I feel for you, bro. I don't know what kind of power you have, but I know I feel the power here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alessandra Rosas.
I am a student at Everett Alvarez High School. The use of carcinogenic pesticides such as 1,3-D has had and will continue to have negative effects on an estimated 80% of our Mexican American community in Salinas. According to the 2022 census, these pesticides disproportionately affect Mexican people because of their overrepresentation in agricultural fields, where exposure to these pesticides is more likely to cause health problems that lead to death. Death to our unborn children, our mothers, our fathers, our grandparents, family, and friends alike. These people closest to us are affected by something that can be fixed. This problem has an urgent need for stricter regulations and safer agricultural practices to protect the health and well-being of our community. It is essential to have awareness and advocate for change, support this initiative that aims to reduce the use of such hazardous substances in agriculture and our surrounding environment. Thank you.
My name is Gabriela Facio. I'm a senior policy strategist at Sierra Club, California. I drove out here from Sacramento to represent Sierra Club's over 500,000 members and volunteers statewide, and friends, actually, that are residents of Salinas and Gonzales who didn't get to be on the queue tonight to speak. We are deeply concerned about the Department of Pesticide Regulation, proposed regulations for 1,3-D. I want to strongly echo what others before me have already said and the experience of local communities at the front line of exposure, especially at the point that it should not have to come to all of this. To this many families to have to organize themselves tonight at this hour to put aside their lives just for you to listen. DPR's current proposed regulations fail to provide adequate protections for all Californians. Instead, they disproportionately harm Latino and Indigenous farm worker communities. This is textbook environmental racism. The proposal to allow residential bystanders, including children, to be exposed to levels 14 times higher than the state cancer experts is unacceptable. Every Californian deserves equal protection, regardless of where they live or work. Additionally, DPR's reliance on Dow's chemicals recommendation over the science of OEHHA disregards expert knowledge and public health. The elimination of township caps and the insufficient 100-foot buffer zones expose communities to even greater risks of drift, which can travel miles and peak during vulnerable times like early morning. Finally, I just want to say Sierra Club California urges that the asks that have been echoed here tonight but our position still supports and encourages a complete ban of 1,3-D, along with the 40 other countries that have enacted this ban already. The health of Californians and the principle of environmental justice must come before profits. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Laura Solorio, Laura-Solorio. I'm a primary care physician treating underserved populations, including farm workers, for over 30 years in Salinas. I am president of Protect Monterey County as well. And as part of that organization, we've also spoken to state agencies such as Dogger, now CalGEM, about oil and gas issues in the county. It does feel like a futile attempt to make a change, but I'm hoping today, with all of the testimony that you've heard, that this will result in some change. The EPA, during the last Trump administration, ignored important scientific information regarding multiple types of cancer, including breast cancer in mice and rats. There are 40 countries that do not use 1,3-D. It seems unnecessary to use it here and expose so many people to the risk of cancer and other diseases. California should ban the use of 1,3-D. This is definitely a social justice issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Webb, I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher at Renaissance High School in Pajaro Valley for much of the last decade. In my time there, I've known that's still surrounded by fields. In my time there, I've known one teacher to have cancer. I've known one student to have cancer just last week. I found out that the spouse of a support staff, somebody who's been in that community for their whole life, died in their mid-30s of cancer. I think at minimum, we maintain, or we have a 0.04 parts per billion standard. As my school district was just last night discussing cuts to mental health services, and we are always thinking about our disproportionate level of special needs students. I think until we get the full ban, we should be taxing the application of this, of 13D, but really, if we're going to have DPR live up to their mission, there has to be a ban, and we need to join the rest of the enlightened world that cares about their people enough to protect them in this way. Thank you.
I'm Mark Weller with SAS and CPR, Santa Cruz resident. It's clear that DPR has strained as far as you could to avoid protecting farm worker communities from cancerous exposure levels of 1,3-D. You ignored OEHHA's legal lifetime cancerous threshold when implementing the regulation for residential bystanders, instead allowing almost everybody in farm worker communities to be exposed to 1,3-D concentrations 14 times higher above OEHHA's threshold. In this draft, well, if there is a farm worker in fields near where 1,3-D is applied who only works 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., 5 days a week, for 40 years, and is never exposed to 1,3-D before or after work, including childhood and retirement, then that farm worker might be protected. But we all know that farm worker doesn't exist. We want justice. If you won't ban it, as 40 other countries have, then rewrite your 1,3-D regulations to keep all Californians from being exposed to more than the OEHHA threshold of 0.04 parts per billion per day. No justice.
No peace.
No peace.
Food up, yeah.
We will start our 1.5 minute Please Thank you once again. Please let the time begin so we can hear more of the comments. We have maybe 10 comments left. And we have 20 minutes left in this hearing. Please let us proceed.
We can see your racist side. DPR, you can hide. We can see your racist side. DPR, you can hide. We can see your racist side. DPR, you can hide. We can see your racist side. DPR, you can hide. We can see your racist side. DPR, you can hide. We can see your racist side. DPR, you can hide. We can see your racist side. DPR, you can hide. We can see your racist side. DPR, you can hide. We can see your racist side. This isn't fair. We can see your racist side. I'm against it too. I can't see it. Racist side. DPR, you can hide. We can see your racist side.
I want to call our next speaker, Dana Mondragon. Dana Mondragon, are you here? Could you please let her make her comments? Please be quiet. Thank you all. Thank you. Please let her make her comments. Please respect the process. Be courteous.
We can see your racist side. DPR.
Thank you. Thank you once again.
We can see your racist side.
Why deny me my constitutional rights? Because you want to bully me and say die? Fuck you, you die.
Please be courteous. Please be courteous.
Please be careful. Stop D13.
Make a public comment. You can come here and make a public comment.
You want me to get up there, Eagle Scout? You get up there, it's not your nation, right?
Thank you all. Thank you. I really appreciate you guys.
Fuck you.
Thank you.
Genocide.
Thank you, sir.
Stop
Could you
genocide.
please be
I
quiet?
survived Hitler. Stop the genocide. My family is German. Survived Hitler's wrath.
Thank you.
Again, 1970 prison. Genocide. Mexicans and blacks. I went back to prison. 2019. You guys all suddenly say,
Thank you, sir. We're going to go back on the record.
How many more times will this
I
genocide my people?
ask you, please respect this process.
Stop killing. You want to check blood? I can start that even.
Let us speak, sir. Let the rest of
All right. It is 7:39. We're going to go back on the record. Dana, please go ahead. Make your comments.
My name is Dana Mondragon Vargas, a senior at Edward Alvarez High School and daughter of former farm workers. I am here today to speak in regards to pesticide 1,3-D. This causing cancer fumigant has harmed vulnerable communities, especially Latino and Indigenous. Pesticide 1,3-D has been banned in 40 countries, yet it is the third most used pesticide in California. You continue to allow 14 times more of 1,3-D in the air than the official state cancer risk level. The one standard for all California residents determined by OEHHA is 0.04 parts per billion, yet children and residents are daily exposed to 0.56 parts per billion of pesticide 1,3-D. Everybody should get the same protective regulation in just one area or some area. I came here today to speak up against the environmental racism against my community. I came here to speak up for every child that suffers from cancer because of pesticide exposure to 1,3-D. For every child that was born with a birth defect because of pesticide 1,3-D. I demand you to rewrite your 1,3-D policy to reduce the amounts of 1,3-D we breathe to levels our state toxicologist at OEHHA say is not hazardous. Pesticide 1,3-D is killing our farm worker community, who are the cornerstone of the United States food chain. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Maria Toledo. Karen, Cameron.
It's really sad that we're here tonight. My name is Karen Cameron, the record spelled C-A-M-E-R-O-N. And yes, I am with Safe Ag, Safe Schools, Californians for Pesticide Reform. I hope to see change. I hope that we can have a civil conversation about it because it's desperate times. We need air monitoring in Salinas. There has not been an air monitor here for about a decade, and there's no explanation as to why. The closest air monitoring we have is in Watsonville, which is right outside of Telone Elementary School. There are only 6 air monitors in the state. 5 of those are directly next to elementary schools. All 6 monitors have picked up 2 to 24 times the allowable amount according to Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment. Quite frankly, we wouldn't even be here having this discussion had there not been a lawsuit. We were all there when you sided with Dow Chemicals' number. You threw the OEHHA numbers out the window. And quite frankly, I don't see any of the Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment data being taken seriously. I was there at the Salinas Vision 2040 meeting for environmental justice when they released the pesticide pollution burdens. No one's speaking of this. It was a 2022 draft. I would say 80 to 90% easily looked to be in deep purple, which is 90 to 100% pesticide accumulation. That was 2022. We're in 2025. You have a whole lot of things that have not been explained. And you're talking about air monitoring in 2027? You're not even paying attention to the air monitoring that's going on now, and it's nowhere near Salinas, the solid gold of the world. We mass produce for the world, and we can't even get air monitoring. It makes me want to cry. You banned this chemical from 1990 to 1995. Why are we having this discussion? And I would like all sides, including his, to be able to be heard tonight. Thank you.
That's Bill Freeman.
Bill Freeman.
Hello, my name is Bill Freeman. I'm a longtime resident of Salinas, California. It's 2025. It's time to ban.
To demonstrators, please respect this process and let the comments make their comments. Please be courteous of this process.
I'd just like to say, it's time to ban 1,3-D. It's time to protect those people who work the hardest in our community. It's time to end cancer in our lifetime. Thank you.
You always say, you're not racist. Come on.
Could you please state your name?
My name is Simon Harold. I keep on saying, Tatagalog ako. You say you're not racist. Hindi kayo nag-raise ng tao. Bakit hindi nyo binibigyan ng Filipino community of sila sa harapan ng pondo nyo? Bakit hindi nyo kami pinakabayaan? Ano kayo sa amin? Bakit kayo ang nagsasalita? Let's ang Español. Bakit hindi kayo mag-Tagalog sa amin? Binibigyan nyo ba kami ng hustisya para sa mga katulad namin ay hindi kami mag-Ingles at mag-Español?
Jacob Center.
Jacob Center.
Yeah, my name is Jacob Samuel. It's called DOB, DOBL. I'm state director for LULAC, a Latino civil rights organization that's been on for 95 years. We keep doing a cycle of not following the science, people get cancer, and then they keep doing investigations. It's banned in 40 countries. If you're not going to ban it, at least follow the science and make sure you pass a policy that protects our farm worker communities. DPR assumes that farm workers work 8-hour days, which is not the reality. Let's stop environmental racism and do the right thing. Don't put profits before people. Let's not continue the cycle. Wait 5 more years, more farm workers get cancer, and then here we are again trying to fight for the rights of life. Thank you.
Thank you. So the family of 3, Emily, Emma, and Elena Flores.
Ilang beses nung sasayaw
our speech.
You say, hindi kayo nagdidiskriminasyon ng tao.
We're
Pero sa
suppressing
ngayon,
our
nakikita
speech.
ko na nagsasalita, gusto nyo
Jennifer Khan,
gusto nyo kami patahimikin!
Jose Eric Alcaraz,
Patahimikin dahil hindi mo ako naiintindihan! Lahat ng tao dito na gusto magsalita ay dapat binibigyan mo ng sapat na oras ay hindi!
All of us. Well, you lost the last election.
Please let the others speak. We've heard you. Thank you. Thank you. Please let the others speak. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please let the others speak.
My name is Jose Eric Alcaraz. J-O-S-E-E-R-I-C-A-R-A-Z. I'm here as a member of Español local
submit your written comments via email, is not comment online comment portal, mail, fax, and BPL will give equal right to all written comments. Instructions for submitting written comments are provided on the slide, and also in the notice of the proposed action on BPL's website. As a reminder, we will be also holding one more, the final in-person public hearing on January 21st, 2025 in Chico. And we will be receiving oral and written comments regarding this proposed action.
Go back to stop genocide.
As I was saying,
that would like to make comments? Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna move on. Just call it for everybody else.
You cannot continue to deny your workers a safety living condition, which is the minimum. These people have the right to defend their well-being. You cannot be mad when these people defend their livelihood. You must depose these pests. Deny the vote to vote. Stop genocide. Hey, hey, ho, ho! 1BD has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho! 1BD has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho! 1BD has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho! 1BD has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho! 1BD has got to go.
All right, folks, we unfortunately have to close this public hearing before 8 o'clock because we cannot hear from anyone. There are other ways to submit your public comments. You can always submit a written comment, and the information is posted on the slides. You can use DPR's online public comment portal.
Listen to us, DPR! How much longer to get to the fight for a DPR?
Go ahead and just make the comment if anybody else would like to make comments to meet me on that side.
If there are any other public commenters, please go over to that corner, close to the court reporters, and we can record your comment.
Hey, just go off mic because you can't post it yet. So just go off mic.
Okay. Any public commenters, please go close to the court reporter so we can record your comment.
No, we're trying our best to get everything.
Yeah, no. I understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, no, we do too, but we just want everybody to at least have a chance to put it on record. So.
Department to listen to our voices. We deserve safer alternative products that protect both our health and our environment. Our farm workers, our children, and our communities are not disposable. Protect us like you protect your own families.
So my name is Jose Eric Alcaraz, spelled JOSERICALCARAZ. And the reason for my appearance here is because I am part of SEIU Local 1000, which is representative state employees. We have very many people, employees, that are not just farm workers who live in these environments, who are directly affected by this. It is a hazard for the state. The state has always said, and heard Governor Newsom say, that we lead the country and the world in environmental issues, and yet we're falling behind in this one. We have fallen behind 40 countries and counting that are banning this substance, banning this chemical, this agency. We are, and it's like, we have accused people of trying to listen to the corporate interests, and once again, it seems like the corporate interest is being put ahead against people's health. The science is proven, yet there's been arguments going back and forth between these two departments that this is not, science should be followed. I think that this is needed to be resolved, and it needs to be resolved as soon as possible. Actions throughout the state may happen in order to see that this goes into effect. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Nellie Diana, Neoyveura. I am the president for the Pajaro Valley Federation of Teachers, Local 1936 in Watsonville, and a member of SAS. And I am here to point out, as others have, your mission, which is to protect human health and the environment by fostering sustainable pest management and regulating pesticides. And you also have a vision, the vision being that pest management that is safe, effective, and sustainable for all Californians and our environment. And I am curious as to how DPR can live with Dow-colored glasses, or maybe that's why their regulation is changing and loosening to affect our student population in the Watsonville Valley, in the Pajaro Valley, which is a major ag valley. We have a lot of families and students who live near our fields and attend our schools. We represent teachers and school nurses and school psychologists who work at the schools that are next door to ag fields. And our district has 16% of our student population identified to receive special services. That is above the state standard average of students identified for special services in school districts with a special education area. So we ask that DPR follow science, just like educators, we're asked to follow science and standards as we educate our population. We ask DPR to remove their influence or impact away from Dow Industries and Big Ag and actually stand for the public health.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Lidia Soto, soy organizadora de la comunidad con VHC Construyendo Comunidades Saludables en el condado de Monterey. Antes trabajé por 12 años en los campos de California y también durante 12 meses de mi embarazo. Por esto sé que el pesticida 1,3-D causa enfermedades mortales en nuestra salud. Actualmente mi familia y yo vivimos cerca de los campos y continuamente estamos expuestos en esos fuertes olores donde vienen de los campos, donde están aplicando los pesticidas. Todos los estudiantes que asisten a escuelas localizadas cerca de los campos están expuestos al pesticida 1,3-D. Pedimos a DPR la prohibición del 1,3-D y proteja a nuestra gente. DPR, el otorgar multas no salvará vidas. DPR, no más aplicación de 1,3-D.
Sir? Yeah. I'm Go ahead, Chris.
Let's start with your name.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Chris Barrera, CHRISBARRERA, President of LULAC Council 2055, League of United Latin American Citizens in Salinas, known as the Salad Bowl of the world. I am here to advocate for all farm workers who work directly, day in and day out in these conditions, and who suffer the harms of exposure of 1,3-D. 1,3-D is a cancer-causing pesticide which is banned in 40 countries, yet, for some reason, it's the third most used pesticide in California. It's a shame that this pesticide is still being used. When used, this pesticide drifts for miles, affecting all of us. We need to stand up and say enough is enough. We need to outlaw this pesticide throughout Monterey County and California. We need to hold our elected officials and you, DPR, accountable to protect all of us. The ag community brings in billions annually in our area, and they should have the respect for our community, keep us safe and keep us healthy. We need to protect ourselves, we need to speak up, we need to protect our vulnerable communities, and we need to protect our farm workers. They do feed the world. Please take a stand and protect us. DPR, do your job and quit being bought and paid for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Bill White, B-I-L-L-I-P as in Paul E. Tonight I'm here to talk about something that doesn't belong in Monterey County, not in our fields, not in our water, and certainly not in the lungs of the people who live and work here. That something is 1,3-D. For 30 years, this chemical has poisoned our communities while peddling the profits of agribusiness giants like Driscoll and Ryder Berry. It drifts into the air, farm workers breathe, and leaches into aquifers already gasping under seawater intrusion. It's a carcinogen, a toxin, and yet somehow it's still here. Why? Because we've been told it's necessary. Necessary for whom? But not for the people getting sick, not for the children playing near fields, and certainly not for the future of our land and water.
Ma'am, can you not point that at us?
Not for the people getting sick, not for the children playing near fields, and certainly for the future of our land and water, which are being drained and poisoned at the same time. Other countries have banned the chemical, and their farms didn't collapse. They found better ways that don't come at the expense of human health and the environment. So let me be clear. The problem isn't that we don't have alternatives. The problem is that we haven't demanded them. We need a 5-year phase out of 1,3-D or less, because every year we wait is another year of harm, another year of groundwater contamination, another year of toxic air. It's time to choose people over profit, health over convenience, and the future over the broken practices of the past. The time to stop 1,3-D is now. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Wes. There you go. Yeah.
Do you have one? ¿Me escuchan? Sí, me siento fortalecido con ustedes aquí en la lucha. Gracias por venir a los diferentes rincones de regiones donde se usa mucho el pesticida. Gracias por hablar y participar, ¿verdad? Esta noche creo que ellos ya no sabían qué hacer. Trataron de mantener la calma, pero obviamente se les notó en la cara que ustedes hicieron pues lo que queríamos, que era interrumpirlos, que no piensen que van a poder dormir esta noche, porque nuestras familias, nosotros regresamos a regiones donde se usa esto y vamos a seguir afectados, y mientras eso ocurra también ellos van a seguir escuchando de nosotros. Así que gracias a ustedes por esta noche.
Celebration Nation, presente. ¿Quién más está presente?
Juan Martínez, presente.
A ver, ¿quién más? ¿Quién más está presente? Valley Improvement Project, presente. ¿Se sintió el pueblo? No. Sí. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo quiere decir algo. Jamás será vencido. No. United Farm Workers. DPR presente.
UFW presente.
No doubt we put a little extra pressure on DPR to do the right thing tonight. Thank you so much.
Chris Barrera, presente. Ahora sí, abrácense en unidad, despídanse. Gracias, 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 gracias. Lo logramos todos.
Sir, me dijo Yaneli que Pizza Factory. 5 years old. We're gonna go to Pizza
Just here to say hi.
I have to cover all of the downtown area, but I just people that are understand. Some donuts? Oh, I wish. I haven't had any. Maybe I should go have one. Maybe I should go have one in a little bit. Maybe we should have one.
I know, no.
All right, girls. Bye. Have a good night.